First Radio.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome to Word First Radio, the podcast brought to you by Word First Ministries. I am your host, Jacob O'Neill, and as always, I'm joined by my friend Cameron.
Hey.
And Cameron, we planted a church.
We did. It happened.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's been a time that we've been looking forward to for years now at this point.
Yeah.
And it was, gosh, man, what a journey. And so I was feeling like, the last couple episodes of the podcast, we've really just been talking about the work we've been doing.
Yeah.
We've been traveling around the country.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking with unbelievers, having these questions that we've been addressing. And so I felt it had been too long since we've just sat down and been like, what is going on with our ministry and our church plant? Just give you guys an update.
Yeah. And we've talked about doing another update over the last, 4 weeks, 6 weeks or something, but we've been in this transition. It's like, okay, well, we haven't experienced it long enough to talk about how it's been going, and we don't want to be overly optimistic and then have bad news to report.
Right. Yeah.
So we've deliberately waited to sort of give this update for us to have a little bit of experience of what it's been like. So
yeah.
So now here we are.
Yeah, we'll get started on that. We'll get started on that transition just real quick, because that statement, we planted a church, wasn't true 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. And so how did that happen? What has that process been like? Cam, how about you get us started with that?
Yeah, I don't know how detailed you want me to be, and there's kind of a lot to say, but actually it's a lot and not so much all at once. So I'll do the not so much version.
Cool.
And really the difference was we got a better understanding and sort of new kind of permission from our church leadership. So we've been in a pattern over the last year or so where we've been trying to find the people who are going to plant with us and make friends and find like-minded community. And, it's our first, call it generation. Like, this is the first church we're planting, and it has a specific and special requirement to have dedicated, faithful believers. Mm-hmm. And we, of course, are committed to evangelism but we need a dedicated to evangelism and introducing people to Jesus and growing by way of people coming into God's family. But we also need to have a core of people who are mature enough to be able to run and organize and oversee the life of the church. So in doing that, we'd made a decision to try and meet those people and welcome them, invite them into community with us. Mm-hmm. But I think we made a bit of a tactical error. We'll call it an error, a strategic error. And that was, because missional community is so malleable and it's so customizable and tailorable to the needs and the gifts and the personalities of the community. We didn't want to set too much in concrete, because we want people who join the community to have a voice.
Right.
So it wasn't like, join the Americans in this thing. Here's what you've signed up for. And we had it's already going. It already has a destination. Right. It's already been really well defined. We didn't want to create outsiders. So we wanted to meet people who would be insiders from the beginning. And there's, I think, a bit of a strategic problem with that, which is that we were inviting them kind of to just friendship and not much more. It's like, hey, do you want to be a part of what we're doing? What are you doing? Mm-hmm. We're going to be planting a church eventually. Oh, interesting. What kind of church? Well, that depends on you. If you're going to be a part of it, then it will look one way. And so we just made the decision a few months ago to establish our rhythms and our routines, write down our calendar. What does life look? Because here's what we're doing. We haven't talked about this in a while.
Right.
But our church is a missional community, and a missional community at bottom is a group of people who deliberately and pretty radically orient their life around togetherness and around serving, becoming friends with non-believers, and loving those people in a way that any one of us, better than any one of us could do on our own. Mm-hmm. So we faced a little bit of a chicken egg situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we made the decision, we'll put our stuff down on the calendar, and then we have something we can invite people to and say, look, this is what our month looks like. Mm-hmm. And this month is a reflection of our lives, and we will tailor it in the near future to better suit the community we put together. But here's what you're signing up for. Would you like to be a part of what we're doing? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So so your question was something like, we weren't a church and now we are a church. What's the difference? Well, in one sense, we're a church plant. Yeah. So we have a mother church, and that exact relationship we will sort of codify and have an agreement and mentorship and all of that, which is very, very good. But we are a church plant, and our mother church is the church we're members of, Home Church. But they, under their authority, we have all of the sub authority to do all the things the church does.
Yes, exactly.
And so that's what we're doing. So
yeah, no, I mean, I love that. And I mean, what's been awesome is kind of the certain amount of trust that's been between us and Home Church. And I mean, that there's a level of trust where they've been like, you guys, we get the vision, like we see what you guys want to do. And now it feels like to me, like we've been handed the football and just like, okay, now go run, now go score some goals. You're on the field now. It feels like that is like, it feels good when you have this people like that who are like, you guys, we know you're doing a different thing and we want you to go do that thing and succeed and do awesome. And now we've given you full reign to go and do that thing.
Yeah, and it's really great. They want to invest in us while we do it.
Right.
So while we do it, we want you to have accountability and oversight and input and mentorship and coaching, which is all wonderful. And then we can get together kind of, what we're doing is experimental. And the position of our church is, well, let's do this together in a place where it's safe and you have some protection and wisdom from your mother church and see what it takes to become stable. And then at a point when you're stable and you're standing on your own 2 feet, then we can become a fully independent church and plant with the Baptist Union if we want. And that's the direction that we are headed. But at this moment, we're still sort of in the nest, in the care of our mother church, which is really wonderful and beautiful. So we are learning what our roles and relationships look like, and how we support the church we're a member of, and how they support us, and how we become more independent in a healthy way. And that's all still a little bit experimental. But in the meanwhile, we were told, just go be a church. Like those were exactly Benta's words. Yeah, go be a church.
Right.
So we can do that. Yes. Benta was like, we kind of don't understand why you haven't done that already. And we just had to have a conversation to clear up some conceptual confusion that I was suffering. And after she cleared that up for me, I was like, so we can just go be a church? Like, yes, go be a church. Okay, done. We're off to the races.
Yeah, this is perfect. That was the, so that, I guess if I was to answer the question of like what changed, I would think it'd be that. I mean, that was the moment when you came home, back to my home, when you came home and explained that, it felt like for you at least, I could see like the turning point in your face where you're just like, okay, now we're hitting the ground running, the gun has gone off, and we're just going to start sprinting and start going. And I think what's been great so far is everybody seems to have stricken a good balance between having independence and accountability and feedback and things like that. So you still meet with Benta regularly and still talk to her about
of course,
what's going on. Everyone's kept in the loop. Zach Dove, your boss with IMB, is kept in the loop and still close to us. And
he's a busy dude, and we're doing a lot of stuff. So I try and at least fire off the occasional text message here's the 100 things we've done in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. But everybody is like they're informed and are free to give feedback as they see fit. And we, I pray God gives us the courage to be humble enough to receive it as well, even though what we're doing is different and very experimental. But what it's felt like to me is because here's the thing, we're gonna talk a little personal here. So for me, I know that I will always have like a tendency to want to just like go too fast with stuff. Start things too fast and go too quickly, and so I tend to overcorrect sometimes and want to like slow way down. And so there have been times where I have not told you to speed up like when I've wanted to or suggest to speed up. And so it felt like to me, like, man, things are slowing down like really a lot, but I'm here for the ride. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, observing, like, it feels like we should be moving faster. And we were talking about that, and we all thought that was kind of true, it seemed. And what's awesome is that Benta even felt that as well. Like with what you just said, like we're kind of confused of why you haven't started yet. And it's just awesome that we all are on the same page and like, okay, let's get going and let's sprint forward. Yeah. So with that, let's talk about what we're doing. So you use the word missional community there. Yeah. We've talked a little bit about that on the podcast at this point years ago.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. At this point years ago, talking about what a missional community is. We even had it was our second interview ever, I'm pretty sure, on with Todd Moore.
Yeah, Todd.
Yeah, he was talking about missional community with us. So real quick, let's answer the question again, like we should once every like year or something like that. What is that? What are we doing? Cameron, how about you help us out with that?
Yeah, so there's a bit of a buzzword. So you say missional community, and certain people mean certain things, and I don't care to sort of put us into a box and then put a label on that box, and then you can understand exactly what's inside that box. So I'll explain what we're doing. What we're doing is our church is a group of people who have agreed to live highly, to participate highly in each other's lives. And we participate around loving and discipling and encouraging and strengthening one another, all that stuff that the New Testament calls us to that you can't do alone. And also, as a group, we're committed to reaching lost people in our community.
Right.
And there are lots of ideas about why that's a good thing to do, but we have ambition to specifically and deliberately relate to and make friends with and bring into our community people who don't believe, so that they can see the gospel lived out,
right,
and hear the gospel. So they hear the gospel in their ears and see it lived out with their eyes, and hopefully make space for people at every level of spiritual development, from zero, from anti-spiritual, from I hate God,
sure,
any level of skepticism you can imagine, all the way to mature disciples who desire to make disciples and maybe even lead a church plant themselves.
Right.
So I've described it very, I don't know, that wasn't super organized, but in short, we're a handful of people. Right now, we're 5 Americans and 3 Norwegians who do a lot of things together throughout the course of the week, and we're committed to living our lives together on mission and viewing our lives from the things we do together and then the things we do alone, like going to work and to the grocery store and whatever else, as a mission field and as a means of meeting non-believers, introducing them to Jesus, and welcoming them into the family.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a really great description. And what's really awesome, and now we'll talk about how it's going. What's really awesome is now we've been getting to see some of that in practice. And so what's been very encouraging is how quickly the people who have joined us and just us collectively as a community have kind of caught on to the vision and have committed to it. And so we'll talk about like some of the things we do throughout the week, but basically it seems like we have a group of people who are so committed to living the gospel with each other and sharing the gospel verbally with non-Christians who come into our circle, and not like, and what's strange is like, I don't know how to say like, not in a weird way, because that's how someone would say it if it was in a weird way.
Yeah.
But like, it's not in a weird way because like people, the non-Christians we've already invited into our circle to hang around us, to be around us, are like, it's so natural, and they like being around us, and they know that we're Christians, and we know that we share the gospel with them, and we know that we want them to be Christians, but they like being around us, and we like hanging out with each other. And everybody in our community right now just seems to have caught that vision and be like, yep, this is what we're doing. We're on mission, and we're here to love people and make real friendships with them.
We could live as like secret Christians,
right,
who invite you to things that I have some not nice things to say, but I want to say what they are saying. But like, we couldn't. Once upon a time, a friend of mine said, "Hey, let's go over to my friend's house. We're on our way somewhere." And he said, "Yeah, but we got to pick up my buddy on the way. Why don't you come with me?" And we stopped on the way, and that buddy's parents sat us down and gave us a sales pitch about prepaid legal.
Oh, yay.
And it's all right. So,
do you want to retire when you're 30?
Right. Have you ever wanted to be your own boss?
Right. Yeah.
I don't mean to criticize that thing in particular, but we all know the trope of people invite you to dinner, and dinner is not the goal. Trying to convince you of something is the goal. Yeah. And we don't want anybody to feel like a project. So we have friends who are non-believers, and it's true. We want them to know the love of Jesus, and we want them to spend eternity in God's house. But really what we want to do in the events that we host and the things we do with our life is just be friends with people and for people to have the opportunity to be around Christians and see what the Christian life is like.
Right.
So like you said, there's no way for it not to sound like it's it's not in a weird way. It's a little weird.
I swear, guys, it's awesome. It's working. I swear it's not weird. Yeah.
But, but we don't want to bait and switch people. Hey, we're having a thing at our house and there's no ulterior motive. There kind of isn't an ulterior motive.
Right.
We're not going to pitch you on buying prepaid legal. Mm-hmm. And people don't want to feel like they're projects.
Sure.
Like our friendship depends on me becoming more and more Christian or something like that. We don't want we don't want that at all, but we do want to, as naturally as we can. It's contrived to some extent, but as natural as we can, create space to hang out with Christian people and see what the gospel looks like. Because someone said this to me. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit long-winded.
That's fine.
But one of the things that we have are these skeptics evenings, and we were talking with a young man who was a lot of fun to talk and argue with. And he's like, "Listen, if I became a Christian, just nothing about my life would change." And I just went, "Oh man,
yeah,
you have no idea." Yeah. And people don't. And so we want to give them an opportunity to witness it and participate in it. Scripture says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." So like we can be people who make place to have a taste or at least a whiff of God's goodness,
right?
And start to see the ways that life now and eternally are very different for Christ followers than anyone else.
Yeah. And I think what's been so exciting is seeing that like in practice. So you're right. It's like, when someone like invites you or like they're trying to sell you knives or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't buy the knives, there's like this weirdness or things like that.
You see each other at work again tomorrow and it's like, hey, do you have any thought about that Tupperware?
Right. And so at least like for us, like, even if there is like, hey, there's this understanding that like, no, I would want you to be a Christian because I believe that it's true. Like, even if there is that understanding, like I could imagine like one of the people who've already been hanging around us saying things like, hey, like I want to come, but like, don't think that means I'm going to like join your church or become a Christian. And I imagine me saying like, yeah, okay. So are you coming to game night? I really want to play games with you.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm okay with that is not because I don't want them to be like, become a Christian. Like I don't want to say to them like, well, listen, it doesn't matter. Like, I know we can play games, but what's really important is that you convert or whatever.
Right.
It's important that they become a Christian. But here's the thing, like we have to find a balance between like trusting the Holy Spirit and doing the things that we can control. So what we can control is being a living example and a speaking example. Gosh, if there's anybody here who is going to hammer on that you have to share the gospel verbally, it's us, right? We're definitely not, we're not sharing the gospel verbally.
Right.
But after you've done that, as you continue to do that, you got to trust the Holy Spirit and how he works. You have to trust the Holy Spirit that he melts the hardened hearts of mankind, like he did with mine, like he did with Cameron, like he did with you, if you're listening to this and you're a Christian. You just got to trust how he works. You're not going to force someone into the kingdom, right? And the Holy Spirit will work with them. And hopefully the idea is that as they find out what Christians are like, that Christians aren't like super weird, that they're normal people who enjoy having fun, who enjoy hanging out, but believe something about the world that's important, or at least that Christians think are important.
Yeah.
We hope that will just kind of naturally be attractive to people.
Yeah, and that it means something to our life more than a book club.
Exactly.
And so we're normal people, but we're different in ways that hopefully answer the questions that other worldviews can't.
Right. Yeah. I love it. I mean, and it's so awesome. So how about we get into that? So how, well, we kind of talked about how it's going. It's been awesome to see how it's already started to work. We've got some really good momentum going on. So what are the kinds of things that our missional community does throughout the week? Let's say on our busiest week.
On our busiest
week, because not every week looks exactly the same. What are some of the kinds of things we're doing? How about we start right off with Monday?
Yeah, so I'll spit out the calendar for you, and it's going to sound crazy. I think maybe not. Maybe I'm just assuming what you think is crazy, but I'll spit out the calendar.
Yeah.
So the calendar is on Monday night we have family dinner. That's just for church members, and it's just for us to be together and love each other and be family. And we do that on alternating Mondays, so twice a month.
Right.
Every Tuesday night, we have Skeptics Evening, which was inspired, of course, by Skeptics Week, which we've been a part of several times. So I'm going to back up real quick. Remember I said that we have opportunities for people, we create space for people at every level of spiritual progress.
Right.
Monday nights are for committed disciples and members of our church. And our church is headed towards, or is aimed at planting more churches and creating pastors and reproducing. And Monday night family dinner, that's for us and people in our church to do that. Tuesday night, Skeptics Evening, that's for anybody who wants to come and argue about the big questions. And the purpose of that is to sort of give hearing to the particulars of the Christian worldview, because we realize that a lot of people here have never heard it, and religion, they conceive of religion as just all one category, and it's the kind of stuff that answers the questions that science hasn't figured out yet.
Right.
So religion is like the placeholder for the stuff that science hasn't yet scienced.
Sure.
But they've never considered whether or not the things that Christians believe, whether they're true, whether Christians have important things to say to the whole world. Really, it's just like, well, that's your book club. That's a story that you guys have decided to create community around.
Right. So
Skeptics Evening is for the purpose of discussing those kinds of things. So we pick a question every night. So last time it was, oh gosh, what was it?
It was, is Christianity based on faith instead of reason?
Yeah, true. It was true or false. Christianity is based on faith and not reason.
Oh yeah, true or false, yeah.
And the first, we had a good discussion about that. And then the previous week, the question was, does science make belief in God obsolete?
Yeah.
And so we got to talk about those things, and they've been wonderful. So Monday night, family dinner. Tuesday night, Skeptics Evening. Wednesday, we have alternating Bible studies. The men have a Bible study on one week, and the women have the Bible study the next week. Thursdays, we take off. We try and take a day. I'm trying to learn how to have a day off and not fill it with work, but Thursday's a day off. Friday, we have discipleship groups in the morning, and in the evenings, we have some social events. So we have game nights, Taco Friday, which is a thing in Norway, something social for, it doesn't have any strictly or obviously religious purpose. It's just for us to be with people and make friends and to love our community. And then Saturday morning, we have a Bible study in our house called Family Breakfast. We've talked a bit about that on the podcast before. It's a Bible study for Christians who aren't necessarily a member of our church. And then after that, we have evangelism, which is either some kind of training and discipleship or public evangelism. And then Sunday, we have a worship service. But we do those on alternating Sundays also. Sure. So we're still members of Home Church. Home Church meets twice a month, so we meet with them on those 2 Sundays per month, and then on the other Sundays when Home Church doesn't meet, we meet together and have a worship service.
Yeah, right. And I mean, hopefully, what some of you guys saw recently was our picture of our very first Sunday service together. We had Cam preaching, you had me and another member of our church leading worship, and it's been awesome. I was going to ask you this. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this. Okay, here you go. What's your of that calendar that you just laid out, what's your favorite thing?
Oh gosh,
that's on the calendar.
I don't know how to understand my own relationship with like other people. If I'm an introvert or an extrovert, and not everyone can be so neatly divided. And so it's hard to pick one of those things. 'Cause I like them all so much. It's a lot because we host a lot of stuff in our house, which God has blessed us with a wonderful place to live. And we're very grateful that we're able to do that. But of those things, I really liked how Skeptics Evening went last Tuesday night, because the young men who joined us were really interesting and really bright. And we had, I thought, a really great conversation. We did it in there's this huge public library in Oslo. It's like the crown jewel of their public library system. And we had a good place and good coffee, and Jon Ingve made boller. He made buns and everything about it. It kind of fit.
Yeah, and Jon is one of the new members of our church. We will introduce you to him actually very soon.
Yeah, good. And it just had gone so well, and it's something I don't get to do very often in my regular life, is challenge people and be challenged and talk about the gospel and the Christian worldview to people who are unfamiliar with it. So what's my favorite event? I can't choose, but I really like, that's something I haven't gotten to do in a long time. And it's nice to be in that atmosphere again. Yeah, absolutely. I'll go ahead and answer for myself. It's probably not going to be the one you would think. But my favorite night is Taco Fredag. That's exactly what I thought you were going to say. Is it really? Because Taco Fredag is awesome. And we're, at all of these events, I mean, what's been awesome is just how
how it's gotten us to connect with people in Oslo, students in Oslo, and connecting with them. And like last Skeptics Evening on Tuesday was my favorite one easily that we've ever had. It was so much fun. The people who came were really involved and were argumentative in the best way.
Yeah.
Like they were charitable and invited pushback to their positions and then gave pushback to like what I would say and to what you would say. And that's just so awesome.
It seems to be a genuine pursuit of truth.
Oh yeah. And it's not like no one's coming there. No one yet has, we'll see if we ever encounter this type of person, but no one yet has been like, no, I don't believe in your sky fairy. Faith is the enemy of reason. Of course, Christianity is based on faith and not reason. And so I don't know if we'll ever encounter that person. We haven't not encountered too many of those people in Norway. But just the atmosphere is just so perfect that where we get down and get to talk about questions and to have people be thoroughly and pleasantly surprised.
And to say, I'll see you again next week. Let's do this again. I'll see you next time.
Well, I'll get to that too as well. But thoroughly and pleasantly surprised when like Christians have like interesting things to say, when you and Joningva have interesting things to say about certain topics. And gosh, that's so awesome. And then again, to illustrate, to reiterate your point that you just made, like to have people be interested in it for its own sake, really. Like because they like the community, because they like being with us, they like talking about these things, because they like on Friday nights to eat tacos and to have just a game night where we can just have fun and purely socialize, to do all of that and to have people, like I said, enjoy it for its own sake is just so refreshing and awesome. And this is the kind of thing that like I wanted so bad. Like this is the kind of missional community that I wanted, like intentionally reaching out to non-believers, not just with community, not just with friendship. All those things are invaluable and very important, but also with the gospel in word and in deed. That's the kind of thing where I'm like, you know what, this is what I wanted. This is what we believe Oslo could use. This is what we envisioned, and it's starting to happen. Yeah. And, you know, who knows where to go from here? Who knows how many more Christians will want to be a part of it? Who knows who will get saved because of it? What baptisms will happen? We're still trying to figure it out. Yeah. But we are trying to find the best balance of what we can control as being obedient to the Holy Spirit, and then trusting the Holy Spirit, who is God, to do his thing. Yeah. Which is to work through the hearts and minds of stubborn people, in Christians and non-Christians, stubborn Christians and stubborn non-Christians, to get his will done and to glorify himself.
And for our dreams and ambitions to be impossible for us to achieve on our own.
Yeah. So let's talk about that real quick. What's, Cam, I remember years ago. When we were sitting in your office and you were like, have you ever thought about moving to Oslo to plant a church? And what did I say?
I mean, nobody has ever thought about that.
Right. So it's like, yeah, all the time. No, never once. And I never thought about it before. And now here we are. Gosh, when was that? When did you ask me that? That was like in 2017?
I don't even remember. Yeah. Definitely wasn't in 2017. It wasn't until 2018 that we came to Norway on vacation. Right. So it would have been after our vacation in 2018, but I don't remember.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so maybe like 6 years ago. Yeah. 5-6 years ago, something like that. And just crazy. Like, what do you feel when you look back at the journey that you've been on, you know, from where you first got the call to come to Norway to where you are half an hour ago before we started recording this? Like, what do you feel when you look back on that journey so far?
Oh man, I wish I had good words to answer this question with. I'm not exactly sure. There's a sense in which I'm seeing my dreams come true in front of my eyes, but not dreams like, not dreams like the impossible hopes and ambitions of a child or something like that. Or it's like seeing promises fulfilled and seeing stuff come to fruition that I started thinking about and investing in several years ago. And my thoughts, I don't know about my feelings so much. It's satisfying, it's encouraging, being sort of swimming in the stream that you know how to swim in, like doing what you're made to do and what satisfies your heart, and living in accordance with your priorities and doing what you love to do and feeling like your gifts are being used, like that's the best. And it feels like we're getting there where, we talked about this in lots of metaphors before, but it's like, okay, we know we need to we want to live in the house. We have this idea about what we're going to do once we have a house and we live in it. But before you can do the things in the house, you have to build the house. And before you build the house, you have to collect the tools. And before you collect the tools, you have to make the tools. And while all of that's happening, you have to learn how to do all of those steps. You have to learn how to make the tools, learn how to use the tools, learn how to build a house. And it's all of that. It's important and it's foundational and it's necessary, but there's a sense in which it doesn't feel like the real work yet. It feels like what you were going to use that house for, what you're going to, I guess my metaphor is really bad because the house doesn't have a single purpose, but it's like how you envisioned life happening in that house. Like that's the dream, that's the vision, that's what you want to be doing.
Right.
And all of that other stuff is investment to that end. And it feels like we still have like we can see that the house still needs improvement and we've learned it on the job and the first time we've ever made these tools, blah, 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 but we're in the house. And we're using it for its purpose. And so that's really satisfying and amazing and terrifying in a bad way and in a good way. And, I tend to be kind of pessimistic in my outlook. So I try not to be too hopeful and sort of expect that everything's going to go badly. But shame on me for being a man of little faith. Pray for me about that. Yeah. But I see God's hand in all of it. And I see him doing the impossible things. And I think for me, just how quickly we went from non-church to church.
Right.
It was like, it seems like we're waiting, dissatisfied with not doing enough. We want to do more. We want to be a church. And it was the difference from where we were at to where we are now was more like a switch being flipped and less like a gradual transition. And so there's a sense which is exciting. It's like catching, we're from Southern California. It's like catching a wave.
Right.
It's like that excitement, and what's behind you is powerful, and it can drown you, and it can break your back. But when you're in front of it, and you've caught it the right way, and you've got your balance, and you're in God's hands, there's like nothing more exhilarating.
Right. Well, and how humbling is it to have other co-laborers help us in decorating the house or into continuing to renovate and build. I'm asking, like, how honored are we that we have found Norwegians who we've, talked with, been friends with for a while now, and, have asked, like, how about you come along with us and make this happen? And they're like, yeah, I want to be a part of the vision.
Yeah, that's another thing I don't really have words for. It's one of those things that, of course, we expected it because God is real and he's brought us here and he's been faithful. But I always expected it kind of in an abstract sense. Like maybe it's never really going to happen, but I don't know. I don't know how to put that into words, but it was like a incomplete expectation. And so to see it actually happening and for us to invite and then welcome others into our community and life and family and church is, it's very special. And it's, it's because God is real and not because I or you are anything super special. Whitney and I were watching, there's this documentary on Netflix called How to Become a Cult Leader.
Yeah.
And I was like, we've got none of that. Like I could never have, apart from all the, the horrible murderousness, but like I could never have been Charlie Manson. I couldn't convince, right?
Right.
I don't want to, of course. I don't want to manipulate people, but you see that there's like a certain charisma, and you hear people going, he just had these magic eyes that made you feel like you did whatever.
Right.
We're not those guys.
Yes.
Like we're not
you
those
do not
guys.
have magic eyes.
And that's really humbling in a good way. Not humbling. It's not humbling like, and I realize that I'm not that. No. It's humbling in the sense that we have to rely on God. And when we see things working, it's because Jesus is beautiful and not because we are charismatic or super interesting or, selling something that everyone wants to buy. It's that God is real. And it's a reminder that he sent us to do his work.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's a really great note that we can end on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts. Cause I think that basically speaks for all of us and like how we're feeling. So, you guys watching or listening, pay attention to our social media. I would just urge you to do that because there you're going to see the kinds of things we've been doing. There we'll be posting the updates about what's been going on, some of the things we've been dealing with as we conversate with non-believers, strangers, and people we know, and just stay updated with what we're doing, because things will be moving fast. I don't think we're not gonna be doing some kind of like big announcement where we show you all the members of our church. We do look forward to heavily involving them, being a part of what we're doing. They're full-fledged members of our church, our church plant, and our ministry, and so they're going to be involved. You'll be seeing them from time to time, and hopefully more regularly as we continue. So be on the lookout for that, because, like as Cam said, none of this happened because we're super charismatic.
Yeah,
but all of this happened from beginning to end, when it does end, because of God's grace and His sovereignty, and for that we could not be too thankful too much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you again next week. God bless.
Thank you for listening to Word First Radio. Be sure to like, subscribe, and check us out online at wordfirst.us.
Yeah!